For customer security, access to the Operator Connect portal is controlled via multi-factor authentication. This can be reset at any time and is set up initially upon your first login to the system. So let's go ahead and take a look at that today. Within your Outlook client, you should have your welcome email, and to reset the password, administrators are sent once they're set up with access. We'll go ahead and do this one for the first time. So we'll reset our password. We'll put the value we want to see in there, and we will log in for the first time. Upon first login, you'll be asked to set up multi-factor authentication, and there are clear on-screen instructions for this. Very simply, use the Microsoft Authenticator application on your smartphone or the Google Authenticator, whichever is your preference. Within that, we can go ahead and click the plus icon and select work or school account. Scan a QR code on the screen, and it will say account added successfully. Now we can click next, and it will prompt you for your code. Open up the Authenticator app on your phone, find the TCAP profile for your user account, click in it, and you'll be presented the code to enter. Enter it in. Multi-factor authentication has been enabled, and you're able to log in. Once you've signed into the portal for the first time, the first thing you must do is add a service. So let's go ahead and click the Add Service button here, and we're going to select Operator Connect. We go back up to Services, and then from the Services tab under Operator Connect, we can provide access. This will prompt you to grant the portal's permissions to access Teams and communicate, to add and remove the audio details as appropriate. So we'll go ahead and select the administrative account that we want to grant access for. We'll agree to the terms and conditions. Then we can see Operator Connect is now enabled. And after enabling the Operator Connect service and granting the application permissions, you should see this will go green in the dashboard and everything should appear healthy and enabled. A very important part of the Operator Connect portal is the service account that supports all the transactions between the portal and your Microsoft Teams tenant. During the service addition process, when you grant permissions to the application, the service account is created. And we can see this if we go to users. We can look here, admin. We have our TCAP admin account. So this is our service account that was created during the permissions process that we've discussed, and is responsible for handling the transactions between the environments. When it was created with a policy to never expire the password. Now this is very important. Should the password ever change, or should that account ever be removed, synchronization between the portal and your Teams tenancy will cease to function. There are triggers that can be put in place to alert you for these failures, and repetitive failures, more than 12 examples over a 12-hour period, will result in disablement of calls. So again, we strongly recommend that this account is left alone and the password remains in place. If for any reason that changes, please reach out to Fusion Connect support for immediate resolution before any service impact. Now we can assign our numbers to our users. So let's go ahead and click the users menu. And what you should see here is a representation of all the Teams users pulled directly from the Office 365 tenancy. So we can look at a few of these here, and we can see where it says not allocated. That means the users does not have any number assigned today. So brand new tenant, that's what we expect. You also see users that say not licensed. That means that user does not have the requisite Teams standard licensing add-on to perform telephony functionality. Simply enable that, resync the users, and that user will then be available to manage. Before we actually look to assign anything to these users though, let's go ahead and get some trial numbers. And we can do that through the telephony tab and numbers. We'll request a new block, and you'll be presented with a list of available trial blocks here. And we'll go ahead and click that first one there and request that block. That will immediately be allocated to my example customer within the portal. Once those numbers are assigned, let's go back to users. and we can choose one. Well, for this demonstration, we'll use user 1. If I want to assign a number to user 1, we'll quickly go into Edit. And before I do, let's go back into the Teams Administrator Center and look at this user. We can find user 1 here. User 1 has no phone number assigned right now. We're going to do all this through the portal. So we're editing user 1. We can select that number, an Operator Connect number, and save the change. It's that simple. When we return back to the users menu, you'll see the status of this is updating, and all that information will be pushing up towards Microsoft. When the status indicator shows green, it means the change to the user's Teams profile has been completed. So let's go back and confirm that that number ending in 192 has indeed been assigned to our user 1. We'll just go ahead and refresh this page. And we can see there that number has indeed been assigned, and that user can now make and receive phone calls in Microsoft Teams. If I ever want to change the number, it's as simple as editing the user again, and we can choose from the 192, let's change that to 193. Save the changes, and just as with number assignment, we enter into an updating state. And again, once the status indicator turns green, that user details have been pushed to Microsoft Teams and the number has been updated. You can also do multiple users at once via the CSV import file. So we can take an example of this and download it from the service. It will return a template like this. Simply add the numbers in assigned to the users. Come back in here, choose the file to upload. We'll validate the file, allow you to see the results of what will be committed. So we're assigning these 3 numbers to these 3 users, and we'll import. Check the results. See, by going back to users, we're entering into the updating state once more. And once again, when the update completes, all the status of the updated accounts are moving to green, and we can validate that back in the Teams Admin Center. There's our accounts of our numbers assigned. All users are Teams calling enabled. If we bring across this user here, they'll notice under the calls menu, they now have the dial pad active and a phone number. We can place an outbound call. And we can also receive. Another feature within the Operator Connect portal is the ability to create triggers. Now, a trigger is an event-driven notification. That notification can be sent via email, it can be sent via webhook to a third party via APIs, but the core message is we're enabling change management functionality within the service. So any changes that are pertinent to the service, whether that's a change, whether it's a synchronization failure, whatever it may be, are auditable within the platform. Let's go ahead and take a look at a few of those. The triggers are actioned under the Automation tab and Triggers, and we'll go ahead and we'll create a brand new one. So we'll look at the click Triggers here, and we'll give it a name. We can put Trigger Example. It applies at the company level. We can put this is an example of a trigger. If this is going to do something more detailed, you could put that in there so you can communicate it for other users. And then you can look at all the events that it's possible to monitor off. So some of them are truly monitoring for synchronization tasks. Others are looking at user changes, whether those user changes are being applied within the portal and syncing to Teams, or have been made within the Teams Admin Center or the Microsoft Online portal and are syncing back into the Operator Connect portal. You have all those. So we can look here, we can say a change was submitted for a user in TCAP. So let's go ahead and choose that one. We'll do this one over email, but if we wanted to do it over a webhook, we can do, and then we can set the method and URI, authentication, etc. Email is our most simple one. Put the email address of the user who's going to receive this. We can put a subject, and that subject now we can start to take from various variables within the platform. So I can say it was this user updated in company name, and can put users VPN is this. You can put original settings were the original as JSON, and I can put the new settings as new as JSON. Now, if we wanted to, we could do this as HTML, so it becomes a richer, more attractive formatting. But for the purpose of demonstration, we'll use some plain text. I'm going to add and enable that now. We can see there's our example trigger. Let's go ahead and see if we can fire that off. So we'll go to users, a user here. Let's choose analytical. We'll give her a number. We'll save that one off. Wait for the synchronization to complete, and then we can go and see the trigger history. You can see already that the trigger has fired, because here's my email, and we can see I've got analytical, the display name, updated in OC Sales Demo 1. That's Anna's UPN. These are the settings before, and these are the settings after. So I know that the real difference here is Anna's number has been set, as we can see in that section there. If I come back into the portal, we can go back and look at these triggers. And we can see now there is also a history against the trigger. So we can view the trigger history. We can see what the changes were, exactly what happened and passed through the trigger. If we ever need to refire that as well, because we're testing these, you don't need to simulate the change every time. You can make the change to the trigger itself and then refire it. And then when we refire, you'll get a separate copy in the background. That should fire off another email. In this instance, it'll be exactly the same because we didn't make any changes, but there we go. So very simple event-driven notifications, allowing you to take control of and drive visibility and auditing of changes within your Operator Connect configuration. Hopefully by now you've successfully implemented your initial Operator Connect deployment with Fusion Connect, and your users are making and receiving calls successfully. The time may come in the future where you're going to want to add more numbers, either net new numbers for a new location, or perhaps bring numbers over for an existing location that weren't originally part of the Operator Connect deployment. All this can be done within the Operator Connect portal. Let's go ahead and look at this. Again, we're in the portal. We're going to go into numbers, and we can request a new block. Now, there are two ways to do this. If we want, we actually request a new block of net new numbers. We put in our name, we put in here, we'll put team admin, our phone number, +1, our contact details, test@customer.com. The block size, so if you want this a block of 1, a block of 10, or a block of 100, if I just do 10 for now, and I want 2 blocks of 10, 20 numbers in total, or I could say single number blocks and give me 10 of those, etc. I want this to be for the United States. We can make this for New York. First Street. Put tests in the rest of the details. We can make this New York as well. And postcode. Put any number in there. Some comments in here. Please allocate numbers similar to my existing range +1, 208, etc., etc. Note the new number block requires generally take between 7 to 10 business days. We'll submit that. I have my postcode error there. Submit that, and it's successful. Now, please note when we do this, this is generating a notification through to Fusion Connect account management. They shall acknowledge the request, make contact, deliver the necessary paperwork, and process the numbers on your behalf. And similar applies if you want to execute a number port. So we're in exactly the same section, but instead of requesting new block, we're going to go to bring existing numbers. And there's some existing fields here. So we have our carrier. We can put who does it used to belong to. We can, in this example, let's put old carrier. We have a bill, just a PDF, just to prove that you are indeed an existing customer of theirs. the registration number, a preferred porting date. Please note this is only a preferred date. This will be committed after as part of the order process. The authorized person executing the port, the number ranges reporting from and to. Here you can select whether you want Fusion Connect to upload the numbers into Operator Connect prior to the port. Now doing that allows you to automatically make outbound calls on those numbers routing out through Fusion Connect, and the inbound behavior will automatically flow through upon successful porting of the numbers. So a nice easy way for you to accelerate the deployment. Again, some comments and some disclaimers. Submit this, and just like a new number order, it will generate a notification through to Fusion Connect account management, which will qualify everything and be in contact. Hopefully, depending on the country you're requiring the new numbers for, you should have those within 5 to 7 days for US, perhaps a little longer for some international locations. In addition to assigning phone numbers to users, you can also take advantage of the more advanced call flow functionality the Teams phone system provides for, namely things like auto attendants and call queues. Auto attendants allow you to set up menu options to route calls based on caller input. Menu options are in auto attendant, such as for sales, press 1, for services, press 2. It lets an organization provide a series of choices that guide callers to their destination quickly and without relying on a human operator to handle the incoming calls. Call queues are waiting areas for callers for situations where callers need to reach someone with a particular speciality, such as sales or service, rather than a specific person. And you can use call queues to connect callers to the group of agents who can assist them. Callers are put on hold until an agent assigned to the queue is available to take their call. And used together, auto attendants and call queues can easily route callers to the appropriate person or department in your organization. Now, behind both auto attendants and call queues are things called resource accounts. Now, a resource account is a 365 user profile that has the telephone number for the auto attendant and for the call queue assigned to it. And then the resource account itself is assigned to that auto attendant or the call queue in the background, one for each. All of this means that whatever we do with advanced call flows in Microsoft Teams requires planning. So figure out how you want the call to come in, where you want that call to go, what that call should do, beginning, middle, and end, depending on what your users input and what your users are looking to do. Now, Microsoft do make available an awful lot of online documentation around this to help you set up your auto attendants, your call queues, and plan for this. But there is some functionality within the Operator Connect portal that also allows for automation and simplification. So if we look at the requirements to actually set up an auto attendant and a call queue, we have to set up general information, we have to set up a basic call flow, an after-hours call flow, a holiday call flow, a dial scope, and then the resource accounts, which means when we're setting up those holidays, those hours, those core business hours, each one has to be done individually. Similarly, on the call queue side, we're going to set up the general information. We set the greeting and the music, the call answering, which agents it should apply to, what's the timeout handling, lots and lots of variants, and can, more often than not, be repetitive across multiple call queues and multiple auto attendants. Functionality that the Operator Connect portal allows for under accounts and resource accounts builds this for us. So via a series of templates. So I can go into resource accounts and let's click on Builder. Now, we can give the resource accounts a name here. For general practice, I always begin mine with RA so I can distinguish that as a resource account quite easily. And we can put demo for the example of this. I'm going to do the same for the resource name. Let's call it an RA demo. I'm going to select the time zone because that's relative to my business hours. Let's go ahead and select Eastern. And we will go with English, United States. Now we have a series of templates. So you can see our basic template here. We can zoom in and we can see we have an inbound number that routes to an auto attendant. After hours, it will play a message that says, thank you for calling replaced by your name, your company name within the Operator Connect portal. Sorry you called outside of our standard business hours. Please call back at another time, and disconnects the call. During business hours, it plays a separate message and it routes to a call queue, which will do its logic, eventually hopefully route the user to the team they need to. If it doesn't, it will play another message and disconnect them. There are other templates here as well. So the most simplest, if we looked at a basic attendant, an inbound number that will play a welcome message that will route to a call queue and hopefully do its business. If not, disconnect it. Let's go ahead and create that basic call queue for now. So we're going to take this simple example and hit create. After a short while under the jobs, you'll see the automatic resource group creation job will move to successful. And that means everything has been built on the team side and we have our foundations to continue. Before we do, let's go ahead and just look at the resource accounts tab, and we'll see that the portal has automatically created 2 resource accounts. One for the auto attendant, one for the call queue, and it's named those appropriately, as well as in the UPN. We go to the Teams admin center now. We can go ahead and look at those and make any tweaks. So first of all, let's go ahead and look at the auto attendant. So we can see here the RA demo auto attendant has been created. We can go in and edit that. We have our time zone set as part of the template that we created. If I want to change that, I can do. We have welcome to RA demo. If I want to change that message now, I can say welcome to Fusion Connect. Call routing options, it will redirect the call to my call queue, again as we set in the template. We click next, we can see our business hours, so we are 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. If we want to change any of that, we can do here as well. We click through, we can set our holiday dates. No holiday dates defined by default, but we can put those in. The dial scope and the resource accounts are already assigned. So I'm going to submit that change. So all we've changed there is the messaging. And in the same way, I can go to call queues, and the call queue is built. Again, we have our RA demo call queue. We can edit that one. The resource account is assigned. If we want to have a separate calling ID for outbound calls, we can do. We can change the language here also. I click next. We don't play a greeting. We play the default music, but if I want to play a specific meeting on the entry, I can put that in. If I want to put an audio file of my own, we can change that here as well. And perhaps the most important thing though with the call queues generated via the template are the members. So within here, you've created the call queue. Now we choose who we're going to route it to. And you can do that via a Teams channel, or we can do that via groups or individual users. Select those and they should become part of the queue to be forwarded onto. And finally, you can choose the routing method. So how you want to handle that from attendant routing, serial routing, round robin, or longest idle. The definition of which is always against it. So you can be clear and confident in how those calls are going to route through to your agents. So once everything has been built accordingly, there's one last step we have to do before we can assign a telephone number to those resource accounts, and that is to license them. So we're back in here, and we can see our users, and we've got our resource accounts here. We want to give both of those the Microsoft Teams phone resource account. That's an inclusive license from Microsoft that is required in order to associate phone numbers to resource accounts. So we'll assign that, and we'll save it. And then that will eventually sync through to the Operator Connect portal, and we can assign the numbers. Now, once the licenses have been added to the resource accounts and successfully synchronized back to the portal, you'll see this reflected in the telephone number column. So now we're licensed, but we have no number. The status is not allocated. We can go ahead and add a number in exactly the same way as we would users. So we're going to go there and click the actions icon. We'll choose a number from the list. We'll go ahead and choose that first one that ends 5125. And we'll click Save. And again, just like user management, the status will enter an updating state while all the information is pushed up to Microsoft. So what we're doing here is we're uploading the number as a resource account number. We're going to be assigning it to the resource account endpoint and enabling that for inbound calls. Everything I've done here on the auto attendant resource account can also be done to the call queue resource account. The reason we're not doing that here is in my flow, the call queue is accessed via the auto attendant. Users are going to call this 125 number, they're going to hit the auto attendant, and they'll access the call queue through the flow. If I wanted them to call directly to the call queue, well, I could assign that a number in exactly the same way as I've just done for the auto attendant. Once synchronization is complete, you'll see that in the status icon, so this will refer green to reflect that everything's been changed. You can see the number is associated here. If we go back to the Teams admin portal, we refresh this, then we can see that number there ending 5125 is now assigned, and it is a voice app number as we elected it to be uploaded. If I go into the resource account section as well, and you can see the same here. The resource account demo auto attendant has the number we assigned to it, and that is now available to take inbound calls. That's how easy it is to manage resource accounts, creating auto attendants and call flows around the Operator Connect portal. With the Operator Connect portal, you can also grant access to other members of the organization or third parties to administrate the service on your behalf. Now, this doesn't mean that that user has to be a Teams administrator. We're just opening up the ability to manage the telephony functionality and keeping the Teams administration role completely separate. All we're granting the Operator Connect administrators to do is configure the telephony service as advertised within the platform. Within the Operator Connect portal, we can come into admins, and that will load a list of admins already set up for the service. We'll go ahead and we'll create new ones though. We're going to call this a demo admin test. It will ask what permissions it wants. So we have a company admin, which is full company level functionality, all the Operator Connect functionality that is opened up to the customer. And the same is the reviewer, which can do everything from a read-only perspective, so no changes but has full visibility. Or we can have custom permission sets. And I'll go ahead and I'll choose this custom permission set for now, and we'll go through how those are created next. And we'll enable MFA, and we'll put in our email address. We can put admin demo, and that will create the account, send a verification email to the user. The user will click that, set up the password, set up MFA, and they are then set with the permissions that were assigned to their account. Now, those permissions were created under accounts and permissions. You'll see we have our three that you saw in the drop down. We have the company reviewer, the read-only one, the company admin, open to everything, and our demo permission set, which is what we created to assign for that example user. The demo permission set was created simply from copying the company admin. So we click the copy icon, we give it a rename, and we click copy, and that will save it. I won't create a new one. Let's go ahead and look at the demo permission set here. So we can click on the edit icon. If I want to change the name, it would change here. If I want to change the permissions, we'll click the permissions tab and go and look into the exact section that we want to. So let's take an example here. Let's say I want to look at resource accounts, and I don't want the user I just created to be able to create or update resource accounts. They can still read them if they want to. I would simply uncheck the create and update boxes, hit save. That updates the permission set, and that user now has a restricted access. And there are endless possibilities for this that fits in with your requirements. But the most important thing to note is we're able to open up the telephony management. We can still do user management. We can still order new numbers, whatever you want to do, and assign to users and assign to your call queues and your auto attendants without opening up Teams administration access. If you require any support or even just have any questions regarding your Operator Connect service, you can easily contact Fusion Connect, and we'll be more than happy to assist. And this can be done in one of two ways. First of all, within the portal itself, we can go up to the support icon in the top right-hand corner. Simply clicking this will create an email template to forward on to Fusion Connect web support team. We will CC the administrator submitting the request into this email as well. Put a basic company name and OC support as the subject. Complete the email with as much detail as you can and send it across. An agent will be with you in due course. Alternatively, if you want to navigate to fusionconnect.com/support. Our support details are in here for phone, and you can submit further online forms for greater detail.